Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Yohance Harrison. So excited to be with each and every one of you today. And today is a special episode. Oh, they're all special. This one is special because it's today. I am pleased to be here with Pamela Sams. She is also a financial advisor, also a chartered retirement planning counselor, also a behavioral financial advisor. We're twins. We're twinsies. So you know what it's about to be. It's going to be the Between Two Advisors podcast. So we're going to just talk industry. We're going to talk trends that we see in financial services. We're absolutely going to talk about behavioral financial advisor designation, my favorite designation of all the ones that I have. And we're going to talk about student loans. Yes, student loans. Let's just get into it. You know, I got to start with a current event. We are recording today, September 1st. So by the time you've heard this, your student loans have already accumulated a little bit more interest. Yes, the interest accumulation starts today. These student loan payments for most people don't start until October. You can still go in and make a payment right now. It's okay. I just want to remind everyone, go to studentaid.gov. If you want to apply for one of the new student loan programs, the SAVE program, or the pay as you earn, or the repay as you earn, or the IDR or the IBR. There's a bunch of them there. Go to the website. Don't just rely on your servicer. You may go to the servicer's website. I've had lots of feedback from clients that have said they went to their servicer's website and could not find the options to repay. As a matter of fact, quick story. My wife, Alicia, for those that know her dearly, also check out her Money Mantras podcast. It's actually our top downloaded podcast is Alicia's podcast. I'm not jealous. But she went into her student loan servicer's portal, and the only option it would give her was to restart her payments for an astronomical amount of money. And I said, no, that's not right. She was like, babe, I did what you told me to do. I said, you couldn't have. So this past Sunday, I sat down right beside her, grabbed her laptop, and I was like, log into studentaid.gov. And she said, no, but that's not my servicer. I said, see, you weren't listening. She went to studentaid.gov. We went through the steps. Her payment was reduced by 85%. Okay. So again, the answer may not be on your servicer's website. Go to studentaid.gov. See what their options are. You may have to consolidate. Consolidating, I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's not a one shoe fits all. Okay. You may need to think about consolidation, maybe only consolidating some loans. It's going to be a case by case basis, but start having those conversations now. Do not wait until October. Do not wait to call studentaid.gov or your servicer. The lines are going to be busy. There is a provision that allows they called it a restart program, revamp, or easy on, easy off. I forgot what they call it, but basically they're allowing you to not be penalized on your credit if you're not able to start payments immediately. It's not going to stop the interest. It's not going to stop the payments will still be there, but they're not going to penalize you for the first 12 months of the program. So again, find out what your options are. So enough about that. Let's get to Pamela Sams. Pamela, welcome to the Money Script podcast. How are you today?
I am fantastic. It's the 1st of September, and yeah, it's been a fabulous year, so I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so we're going to pause for 1 second just so that when we put this on social media, we can play
Mhm.
the September song.
Okay.
I love that song. I play it every September. I can't do it
Yeah.
on the podcast because, rights and all
Yeah.
of stuff. But, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. We'll just insert the September song in there because it is September. Dancing in September. Let's do it.
Mhm.
Yes, fall is officially upon us. Well, coming soon in a few weeks, maybe by the time you hear this. So, Pamela, what part of the country are you in?
I am in the DMV. I am in Virginia, right outside of
Okay.
Washington, D.C., maybe about 30, 40 minutes, depending on traffic. It could be a couple hours. It could be 30 minutes. Who knows? But I am in the DMV.
And is that where you're originally from?
I am originally from St. Louis, Missouri. So I grew up in the
Okay.
Midwest, kind of tracked out here, been out here since 92. My husband works for Defense Department, and that's how we ended up here.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're kind of you're stuck there at least until He
Yeah,
retired.
at least until retirement. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Well, so I'm really curious. Tell me, how did you get into financial services?
Oh gosh, it's quite a story. So I have a MBA in financial management. Like everybody, you think you're going to do the Wall Street, you're going to do the investment banking, all of the illustrious things that you
All the
see,
sexy stuff. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
all the sexy stuff
Uh-huh.
that you see on the movies. And then, I had two kids back to back in graduate school, so I figured that was not going to happen. So I took a sabbatical, just figuring out what my next best steps would be. Unfortunately, my dad fell ill and passed away, and I was able
Mhm.
to help my mother with that transition of being a widow after 50 years of marriage, trying to figure out finances on her own. So, kind of the light bulb went off, and I figured there were other people who needed that type of help. So, I hung out my shingle, and that was 2001. So, in 2002, I hung out my shingle really with the intent and the mission to help other women achieve financial success, widows, people who are going through divorce, and single by choice. Those are most of my clients.
Single by choice.
Yes.
SBC.
Yep.
Okay.
Single by choice.
Single by choice. I haven't heard that term before. If I did, it just didn't fall in. But I got it now.
You got it.
SBC. I look forward to saying that. 'Cause we hear all the other ones, the dinks and the twinks
Yes.
and the binks and the SBCs. Single by
Hmm.
choice. I'm.
Yes.
You know who you are. You hear me talking to you. You're an
Hmm.
SBC, and it's okay. It's okay to be an SBC. You're a single by choice. So tell me, why focusing on women?
Oh, I mean, our life expectancy is going to be much longer than you. Unfortunately, you know how that is. Alicia is probably going to outlive you at some point. And
She likes to remind me, especially when she's upset at me.
exactly, yes. And then
Yeah.
there's this transfer of wealth. So, and then a lot of times women seem that we're behind the curve when it comes to finances. We're never taught in school. We're told, don't fret your pretty head about the numbers. You'll marry somebody, blah blah blah. That's the whole story. So I really wanted to focus in on empowering women with their money. So that's why I focus on women.
Got it. And what led you to pursue the behavioral financial advisor designation?
Yeah, I mean, I was having these conversations already, with my clients, a lot of female. We're kind of emotional and when it comes to our money, and I was having these behavioral conversations of how you grew up with money and how do you feel money in your body? Because a lot of times people really have these things pits in their stomach on, if they see money or if they hear anything about it or things like that. And so I started having these conversations, and then I saw, that there was actually a designation for these conversations, behavioral financial advisor designation. So it's been a few years. I believe it was 2017, 2016 or so.
Oh, you're
I
a veteran. I didn't join till
Yeah.
2020.
Okay, yeah. And so I did the coursework and been following that procedure ever since. And even just yesterday, I had a conversation with a long-term client, and she talked about the values exercise that we go through. And she said that was very helpful for her and her husband because they have two different values. Not to say that either one of them are right or wrong, but they're coming from it from a different perspective in terms of their money.
Indeed. So, what are your values?
My values, top ones, family,
Okay.
relationships, friends. I love hanging out and doing that. Um, Integrity. You got to do what you say you're going to do. With that, faith. I'm very spiritual when it comes to that. And I would probably say I can't remember. It's been a while on my fifth one, but those are my top four for now.
Okay.
If I can circle back around once I figure out what that fifth one is,
It'll come to you. I'm
it'll
sure it'll
come to
come to you.
me.
So I'm curious when as you've been using the values exercise with
Hmm.
clients, what are some of the top obstacles that you find that you have to overcome with helping clients understand their values, and then more importantly, implementing the values into the financial planning process?
Hmm. Well, it's funny that you asked that because a lot of times people haven't. really thought about what their values are, and it's a very interesting exercise. I do it separately with couples. So I do work with couples as well. I have them do it separately, and then come back to the table. And some of the discussions are very interesting when you see, it's like, I didn't know that was a value of yours, and how they grew up with money, or maybe not even had that conversation. But really getting a chance, and they get a chance to know themselves a little bit better, and what drives them in terms of their money, and then how that directs their financial plan. Because I say, how do you do one thing is how you do everything. And based on what your
Mm.
values are, that kind of guides how I proceed with their financial plan. If they come to me with something that's totally off script in terms of what their values are, we have a conversation. It's like, is this aligned with your value? You said your values that you want, family, you want time with them, but now you're working 80 hours a week or something, crazy like that. That's not going to allow you enough time to be with your family. Is that something you want to do? Of course, directing with the money. Is the money superseding what you want to do with your value of being with your family? And if your values have changed, let's go ahead and address that. But and it, just call them on the carpet and say, okay, yeah, you're right, Pam. Maybe that's not what I want to do. I know I want more money, but I also want to spend time with my family. We have two conflicting values there, so we have to see which one is going to dictate their financial plan.
Mm. So can you take that a step further? What do you do when a client has recognized they have those conflicting values? How do you help them work
Mhm.
through that?
Yeah, I mean, we just come down to the basics. If family is one of those things, it's like, are there ways that you could also increase your income to provide for your family, but still have the time to do what you want in terms of being with your family? So we kind of do a little compromise on finding ways that they can do that. Perhaps, they can have remote work where they're able to be at home with their family, or have flexibility in their workspace, and then able to provide for their family as well. So we try to find some way to provide both if they can.
Indeed, I agree. I agree with you. I agree. Um, I've found similar activities with clients as well. That when they are in that conflict of their values or their goal, or their values not aligning with their goals,
Hmm.
and a lot of times, really, just all they need is someone to give them an idea that's outside the box.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
I was just talking with a client last week, and she had tried to start, her small business, and and in real estate, didn't quite work out.
Hmm.
And but she still had that bug in her. She's like, I want to be able to
Hmm.
have my own business and do something else with my time now that her kids are starting to grow up. And she works in compliance, in
Hmm.
financial compliance. And I just said to her, I was like, well, I'm sure there's companies that need their compliance manuals rewritten, or they need a
Hmm.
compliance manual, or just need some compliance work. Why don't you see if you don't have any, what do they call them? Compete clause, non-compete
Yeah. Hmm.
clauses. Why don't you see if you do that? That's something you already do well. And it was so amazing. She said, I never thought of that,
Hmm.
because she's just been living in it for so long. She never really just like, oh, I guess I could see if there's a market out there for me to do this sort of work on the side, because I enjoy doing it.
Hmm.
Um, and then that just kind of, it went back to, because we just did our values and goals exercise. It went back
Hmm.
to her values of having that autonomy and independence. And it's like, okay, well, this is something you're already good at, so maybe you should consider that. So she was really appreciative of that. But I find that a lot of times we can't get to those conversations with clients
Hmm.
if we don't have those values conversations, if we don't talk about the goals, if we don't talk, because a lot of times we spend, well, speak for myself. I spent, I don't know, the better part of 15 years really just talking about financial goals and numbers,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and not a lot of time talking about, or financial, not a lot of time talking about values, not a lot of time talking about alignment of values, behaviors,
Hmm.
and goals. And I've noticed over the last few years, since I've been implementing more of that into the practice, I'm having conversations with clients that I've never had before.
It's funny
And
that you
having
did. Yeah, it's funny that you said that because I did a presentation at MDRT last, well, it was in June about behavioral finance, and I talked
hold on, let
about
me pause you. You just did something that to help all my friends out there. MDRT is
RT. Yes,
$1 million round table.
round table.
Okay. It
Exactly.
is
Yes.
it's high level advisors in the
Hmm.
insurance industry.
Yes.
So that's the MDRT. I try to help them out on the
Oh,
jargon.
of course. Yes. Yes. I know. It just comes off of my tongue because
I know,
I've been
yeah,
doing it
I know.
for some time
I
with
tease
that.
my wife. I call it M dirt, but that's another story.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Don't let them hear you say insert.
Oops,
Uh, but the
don't cut it
presentation
out.
was
Leave it in.
all about behavior finance, and in the presentation I talked about these deep conversations that I have with clients, and one that I used was, I had this client. I've been in practice for the last 21 years, and this client has probably been with me almost as that long. Staunch Marine, all of that, just never really had these basic conversations. It was all about, like you said, goals and numbers. But after I got my behavioral financial advisor designation, they say go back in the field, use it, blah, 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 and do that. So I said, let me just try this. And I tried it, of course, with the easies, like had those conversations. But then I said, let me just try it with Ed. Name has been changed to protect the innocent. But anyway, let me
Mhm.
just try it with Ed. I learned more about him in that 45-minute conversation than I did in the last 18 years. It was remarkable. He wanted to make sure, his nieces were his beneficiaries on most of his accounts because his unfortunately his sister wasn't he didn't think she was, a really good provider. She had some issues in the past, and those sort of things. And like I said, it was just flowing on information that I never knew uh, with working with him for the last 18 years. So having these conversations from a behavioral standpoint and the way they grew up and how they value money and how their relationship is with money, it just really changes the ball game when it deals with the financial planning process.
Indeed, it does. So, speaking of growing up,
Hmm.
favorite part of the show with each of my guests, I'd
Hmm.
like to ask them about their first memory of money. Now, I know with us being in the financial industry, we probably talk about money a lot, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you have lots of memories of money. But
Uh
if you
huh.
were to go back to think of one of the most pivotal memories of money at a young age for you, what would you say that is?
Right, exactly. It's funny you ask because that's also in my presentation that I do. Um, I'm gonna date myself, yo. I'm gonna date myself. Green
It's okay. You
stamps.
already said you've been in the industry for 21 years. You're good.
I know. Green stamps. If anybody doesn't know what green stamps are, way back in the day, you would go to the store and you would get these green stamps after you've paid for your groceries or whatever, and then you would get this green stamp booklet and you would put those stamps, and when you filled the booklets out, you would turn it in for merchandise, penny candy. We saved ours, for baseball tickets. I'm still a diehard St. Louis Cardinals fan, so we would save it up
Okay.
for the Cardinals tickets or new shoes or whatever we needed. But that was it, and that was kind of my job. We would get these big screen stamps. Me and my brother, we would get these booklets, and it was our job to kind of paste those in, fill it in, and then give it to our parents and turn it in for merchandise. So that's one of my early memories. And I also talked about in my presentation, back in the day, they actually gave you money back for collecting bottles. So we would
Oh,
ride around and
California still does that. Are you still
I
doing
know I
California?
saw that
Oh
on there.
yeah.
I saw the
Hmm.
California, and I think it's Michigan and some other one. I looked on the
Hmm.
bottle, but back in the day in St. Louis, we would ride around our bikes, me and my neighborhood friends, and we would collect bottles. We would collect big trash cans of bottles, and then we would go and exchange those at the corner store, and then we would get money to buy penny candy. Like I said, dating myself, candy was actually a penny. Buy
The
little,
Bronx candy. I know
fruit
the
chews,
Bronx candy.
rocks, and all of
Hmm.
those things. And so, yeah, those were some of my, early money memories because that was, my parents were like, I got a little bit of allowance, but there's like, whatever you spend or whatever you make on your own, then that's yours to, go ahead and spend. So doing that either through the green stamps or through collecting bottles was an additional way to collect income to buy the things that I wanted to.
Can you pinpoint some of the first interactions you had with money and your children?
Yeah, I mean, most of my kids have been since I've been an advisor. So, like I said, the two kids that I have back to back in graduate school, they have just grown up finances. And actually, both of them work in my practice now as client service associates. So I brought them in. So it's kind of full
Did you hear
circle.
that, son? Did you hear that? She said
Yes, you
both of
gotta
them.
bring, yes, both of them. Bright guys who majored in business and decided that they wanted to be in this industry. So that's awesome. And then my daughter, she's kind of the free spirit, creative one, so she does mostly film production stuff like that. But
Oh, so that's
work,
my son. My son went
yeah,
to film school, so he's yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And my daughter went to film school as well. But the
Okay.
interactions with money with them is that, they did also get an allowance, but I also made them uh, put together, more of a savings program. Okay, if you want Xbox 5 or PlayStation 5, whatever, how much is it going to cost you? How much is the product going to cost? And then how much of this do you need to save? And then I will go ahead and match what you need to if you cut lawns or do things around the neighborhood or whatever. So I gave them some incentive to work for it, and it's not
Mm,
just given because I grew up that way as well. Really trying to instill those values into my children is that it's not just going to be given to you. You do have to put a little skin in the game in order to get what you want in life.
beautiful, beautiful. I love it. So you said both of your children are in the practice though?
Yeah, uh-huh. The first one, it was during COVID, so he was going to school online, and he was like, I needed some extra money. I was like, I need help, so by that,
Mm,
I hired him. And then my youngest son graduated 2 years ago with a business degree, and so he was looking around, he couldn't find anything, and so he called me and said, would you mind if and he's really good at marketing, so he does a lot of my social media and a lot of my marketing initiatives. So I was like,
how,
okay,
how did we
sure.
find each other?
How did we find each other? Probably on LinkedIn. I think we
Huh.
found each other on LinkedIn.
So I guess your son's work is working.
It is working. It is
It
working.
is
He's
working.
found a lot of quality clients through LinkedIn and other initiatives, Instagrams, things like that. Believe it or not, Facebook last year was a tremendous success. I don't know what he was doing, but a
Hmm.
lot of people found me that way as well.
Are you a part of Quad A?
I am not a member, but I am familiar
Okay.
with it, and I have
Okay.
attended some events in the DC
Oh,
area.
see,
Mhm.
now I did it. You were supposed to call me out. Quad A is
Oh yes,
Association of African American Advisors.
advisors. Yes.
So
Hmm.
4As. That one has been very beneficial for
Hmm.
me. Um, I I knew about the organization for a while and just never really got it. Like you went to an event
Hmm.
or two, never really got around to getting a membership. I did get a membership, and I it generates at least 1 to 2 inquiries a month,
Hmm. That's
and
great.
don't have to do anything. They just pop up. I'm like, oh, and
Hmm.
they tell me right in when because I have a little questionnaire when
Hmm.
people ask for a meeting, like,
Yeah.
how did you find us, that sort of thing, and like, oh, we were looking for a black financial advisor. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, and
Okay.
then so where did you find us? Quad A. Oh, all righty then. I'll keep paying for that. Yep, send them their money.
Hmm.
That's working.
Yes.
So
Send them the money.
send them their money. Send them the money. So tell me, what is next for you and your practice? What are your goals right now for you and your practice? You don't have to go into financial goals, but what's
Hmm.
next when you think about your career as a financial planner?
Oh wow. That's an interesting question, but really just kind of grow it. Right now I have my two guys working for me, but I do want probably more of an enterprise practice. Adding on more advisors, I'm actually grooming a junior advisor as we speak now to bring in more resources and handle some of the other parts of my business. So really just kind of growing it with extra advisors, probably bringing on a paraplanner. Definitely need a paraplanner as well. But really probably developing more of an enterprise type of practice. I do a fair amount of speaking as well, so I do enjoy that, being speakers at different conferences. So that will continue as well.
We are twins.
We are
Um,
exactly.
Same here. Growing. I don't. I'm not grooming a new advisor yet.
Mhm.
Had one that I was working on, didn't quite work out.
Mm,
But I'm looking for the next. My wife is getting her CFP,
okay.
so she will sit for the exam in March. Interesting how that came about. She was asking why she doesn't have any equity in the practice, and I said, "Well, you're not licensed,
And you're not licensed exactly.
so either got to get a license or get your CFP." And being the woman she is, she was like, "I'm gonna get the CFP." I was like, "Oh, excuse
Okay.
me."
I know. There you
So,
go.
yeah, so I'll have another advisor here come
Okay.
next spring.
Great.
But speaking has been my new pastime. It's funny that
Hmm.
so my wife and I we sit down each year and we do vision boards every year. We've been doing them for
Hmm.
years,
Yep. We are
and
twins because I do the same thing.
I'm saying twins. Um, so I'm doing a vision board, and one of the things I put on my vision board, this is in 2022's vision boards. We did in 2021 for 2022. And I put on the vision board that I wanted to do more public speaking.
Hmm.
When I imagined the public speaking, though, what I thought I was imagining or manifesting was more public speaking events for prospective clients.
Hmm.
So doing more talks at some of the medical conferences that I go to, or
Hmm.
inside of some of the companies. What we used to do back in the day, old school
Yeah.
lunch and learns. You know,
Exactly.
that's sort of thing.
Yep.
So, and that's what I envisioned. What has it been though? Industry conferences. I
Uh
was like,
huh.
oh, my peers want to hear from me. Oh yeah, oh peers, because being independent, you kind of forget
Hmm.
that you have peers. It's like, oh
You have
wait,
peers. Exactly.
there's more of us out there. Oh hi. Oh, y'all want to learn more about the BFA? The BFA has been the reason why a lot of organizations have come to me and asked me to come speak. It's
Uh huh.
about the behavioral financial advice. I was like, oh y'all been paying attention. Okay, so y'all, oh yes, this
Yeah.
is real. Okay, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Those
So
were the last few conferences that what I talked about. Like I said, MDRT. I did the Retirement Income Summit. I talked a little bit about that. I did the Women Advisor Summit. I talked about the behavioral piece as well. So, yeah, it gets you in a lot of doors
it
for
does.
speaking.
It does. It does. So shout out to my friend Bilal who called me up one day and said, "Stop what you're doing and go register for the BFA." I was like, "Man, I'm busy."
Okay,
He's like, "Stop, go do it right now."
stop, go do it.
And I
Exactly.
listened to him when I was like, "Okay, this must be good." And I went and looked. I was like, "Oh, Doug Lennox, yeah, I'm down for
Yeah,
that. I know
exactly.
Doug, absolutely." So yeah,
Hmm.
no, I'm excited. I'm excited about the conference coming up soon. I hope to see you
Yes.
there next year. Um, so if there are any individuals that are looking for a financial advisor in your area, or I assume you work with people all across the United States, like I do,
I yeah.
de
Hmm.
minimis rules or get registered. How
Exactly.
can they find you?
Oh gosh, they can find me on social media. Thanks to my wonderful son who's been putting me out there on Facebook and Instagram at Jackson Sam's Wealth. Jackson Sam's Wealth Strategies is my firm, not two people, but one. That's my maiden name is Jackson, and I kept the Jackson to honor my dad because that's kind of how I got in this industry. So Jackson Sam's Wealth through Facebook and Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. I believe you just find me Pamela Sams, trusted advisor for professional women. So that's kind of how I'm labeled there on LinkedIn. And then I guess X or Twitter or whatever they're calling
Whatever
themselves
they call themselves now.
is at Jackson Sam's WS because they limit the characters there. So that's how people can find me on social media.
Beautiful. And we'll put, of course, the links in all of our show notes. I want to end with this. Well, before I end, I have one more question for you. Before I
Mhm,
end, going back to the top of the show, stop what you're doing. Like Bilal said to me, stop what you're doing.
mhm.
Go check on your student loans. Just
Yes.
go. You just don't get your head out of the sand. You had 3 years where you didn't have to worry about them. The
Mhm.
time is back. Go check on your student loans. because if you're not in that program, one of those new programs, and you miss a payment, it's going to hit your credit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you miss payments prior to COVID, there is a Fresh Start program. Go onto the website, go to studentaid.gov, type in Fresh Start. There's a Fresh Start program. I've had dozens of clients that had late pays and stuff like that, just poof, erased.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you have to go through the steps to get it. They're not just going to give it to you. It's not like, I know they just gave us 0 interest, 0 payments. That time is gone. And I just give it to us anymore.
No.
We're going to have to do a little bit of work. So I'd like to end with this, Pamela.
Mm-hmm.
We do a book club for our employees a few times a year, and we are debating on our next book. So I was wondering if you could make a recommendation of a finance book that maybe we haven't read yet.
Have you read The Psychology of Money?
Oh, come on. We did that one as soon as it came out. Morgan's speaking at the conference. So yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
So good. That is when someone asks me what's the best finance book, I'm like, this one. There has not been one better since. The Psychology of Money is phenomenal. Okay. All right.
Of course, old school would be The Intelligent Investor.
So my wife Alicia brought up The Intelligent Investor, and I shot it down a little bit because I was thinking about our employees, and I was like, I don't know, that one can get a little technical. But now that you said it, I'm gonna say, okay, Alicia, you were right. We'll put The Intelligent Investor back on the list.
Exactly, because it's the basics. It's the basics,
it is
and
the basics.
So people need to get started with there. I mean, it was written way long ago, but it still holds true. So I always recommend The Intelligent Investor whenever people say, "Hey, I need a really great money book to read." That and The Psychology of Money are usually my top two that I tell people.
Psychology of Money, the psychology. So stop what you're doing. Well, if you finish your student loan, do the student loan thing first. After that,
definitely do that first.
Go get a copy of The Psychology of Money. You can get it on Amazon used. Morgan, sorry, people. No, The Psychology of Money. They like to save money. You can get it used. It's like $4. It's a great read. Or if you're into the Audible listening to it, go download it. Actually, it's read by the guy from the Motley Fool, I believe. Yeah, I can't think of his name. Jason Moser, I think his name is. Yeah. He has a great reading voice. Great reading voice. But yeah, those are, man, we're twins.
Yes,
so
we
twin,
are.
It was nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Money Script podcast. We're going to have to do this again. We're going to have to meet at a conference. We're going to have to get our families together because we have so many more things to talk about. But we appreciate all of the work that you do for all of your clients and the impact that you're making with helping people make better decisions with their money, helping people connect their values to their financial goals and to their financial behavior. So again, we appreciate the work that you do. We have a lot of people to help. We're not going to get to all of them. So if you know someone that is, business minded, we used to say it, the mind of an entrepreneur and the heart of a social worker. It might be a place for them in financial services. And I'm sure that either myself or Pamela would love to be introduced to them. So until next time, we'll see you on the Money Script podcast. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Money Script podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at The Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by Money Script Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The Money Script LLC and the Money Script Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The Money Script nor Money Script Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.